Today's video is going to be all about hypnotizing fragrances that leave an intoxicating scent trail. So if that's your type of thing, then please keep on watching. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if it's the first time you're visiting. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Hayley and I review fragrances. So as already mentioned in the intro, today's video is going to be all about hypnotizing fragrances. And what that means to me is these are fragrances that are really attractive. They have a certain allure to them and people will turn their heads when you walk past. That is what I kind of get from hypnotizing. They're pretty sexy fragrances as well. So if you want to find out more, then please keep on watching. But before we get started on the video, I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe to my channel. It really helps my channel out and I would love to have you part of this amazing fragrance community. So now that's out of the way, let's jump into the first fragrance. First up is La Capitale by Xerjoff, and this is one of the first fragrances that came to mind when I was thinking about this category. I personally find this super sexy, very attractive. It's the type of fragrance that would turn my head. I mean, it has turned my head when I've smelt someone wearing this myself. I just think this is such an amazing fragrance. Oh, my voice was cracking then. In essence, this is a fruity caramel with a little bit of leather, and that leather is the thing that makes it sexy to me. It's not the note that stands out the most. You're definitely getting a lot more of the berries and the caramel, but wow, this one smells incredibly intoxicating. Oh, I will never stop loving this kind of fragrance profile. I have 3 fragrances that are in a similar scent category to this, and I love them all equally. But what I will say about La Capitale is even though it's sweet and decadent, it has this kind of transparency to it where it's not too heavy and cloying, at least to me. Now, one of the fragrances that I feel smells similar to this is Venom Incarnate by Stefan Humbert Lucas. But that one is a lot heavier and more dense in the base, whereas this still has a lightness to it, yet at the same time it is incredibly sexy. So if you're looking for a standout scent profile that has that alluring, attractive, hypnotizing quality about it, that's got lots of caramel, it's got red berries through it, and then some leather in the base, that is exactly what you are going to get from La Capitale. There's also some amber in the base, but the amber's not too heavy. It's just perfectly done in my opinion. Highly recommend getting a sample of this one. There's plenty of reviews out there on this because I know it's already popular and for good reason. So my first hypnotizing fragrance choice is La Capitale by Xerjoff. Next up is an underrated designer fragrance, in my opinion at the very least. This is Dolce & Gabbana, The Only One Intense. My voice keeps cracking today, I don't know what's wrong with it. This is such an amazing designer fragrance. It packs a punch, the longevity is amazing, but it also leaves the most intoxicating scent trail. In essence, this is white florals, coconut, and vanilla. Those are the 3 main notes that I get from this. There is a little bit of sharpness. I believe it's the green apple in the composition. And then you get the creamy yet heady white florals. You get that kind of milky coconut note and then lots of vanilla in the base. The main florals are neroli, orange blossom, and jasmine. A very, very sexy mix of florals will definitely turn heads. I think this is a very attractive fragrance. And like I said, the longevity is really good on this one. What I love is the vanilla dry down. It stops this from being too much of a heady white floral and it gives it a beautiful feminine sweetness in the base. You've also got a little bit of cashmere in the base and then some woody nuances, but honestly the notes I pick up are a mix of the white florals that, like I already mentioned, are creamy yet a little bit heady. They are strong white florals. then I get the coconut, and then I get the vanilla. So if you've never tried this one from Dolce & Gabbana and you're looking for a slightly more affordable option than some of the other fragrances in this list, I would definitely recommend trying this one. I think this is hypnotizing. It's definitely the type of fragrance that turns heads and that attracts other people. So take that as you will. That is how I see it anyway. So that was Dolce & Gabbana, The Only One Intense. Next up is Hibiscus Mahajad by Maison Crivelli. You're probably not surprised to see this one in the list. One of the fragrances with the best longevity and projection in my entire collection. This one really packs a punch. I definitely don't need many sprays of this. I only need 2 to 3. It will last all day without a doubt. It's really, really potent. Now this is a very likable DNA, yet it has a unique twist to it. And I think the unique twist comes from the hibiscus and the mint note. Do not let the mint put you off. It just adds this freshness to the overall composition. It has that kind of likable DNA that you get from something like Delina. This doesn't smell like Delina, but it's in that same category. You get the kind of sweet florals, you get the vanilla too, but then it's contrasted with some leather and that mint. It also has ambrette and cinnamon. You do have rose, and it's a sweet rose. You do have vanilla like I mentioned, but it's such a unique composition. I don't have anything else in my collection that smells like this one, and I think that's because of the note combination that they have used in here. I've already just said this, but with that hibiscus and that mint, it just adds a little bit of flair to this. It reminds me of a cocktail, hibiscus cocktail with a sprig of mint in it. So sexy. This is definitely one of the sexiest fragrances that I have ever smelt. And if you have never smelt it and you like fragrances like Delina, but you want something with a little bit more of a unique touch that also has better longevity and projects like crazy, then I'll definitely check out Hibiscus Mahajad. It is definitely a hypnotizing fragrance for me. Next up is Versace Crystal Noir. I specifically have the EDT version, which is my preference of the two, but I think both are great. And I think this one is known for being more of a sexy designer fragrance. It is definitely mass appealing, but it also gets so many compliments, specifically from men. I don't know what it is about this one, but men seem to love it. And there's been a lot of blind tests on this. I've seen other creators asking men to smell various perfumes, and this is the one that always seems to win. So take that as you will. I also do feel like this is a pretty sexy designer fragrance. It's not as hypnotizing as some of the others in this list, at least to my nose, but I'm adding it in here on the basis that a lot of men seem to like this on women, for whatever reason that is. Anyway, this is a mixture of kind of zesty spices in the opening. You've got cardamom and you've got ginger. Through the mid, you've got some florals. So there's gardenia and there's peony. And then the base is sandalwood. And it's definitely a pretty fragrance. And again, on the more affordable side of designer fragrances, I'm not saying it's super affordable, but it's on the more affordable side. At least in the UK anyway, Versace fragrances seem to be more affordable than brands like Chanel, YSL, etc. But this has a really nice kind of musky amber dry down with that creamy yet woody sandalwood. You definitely get the florals, and again, they are also creamy yet a little bit sweet. But what I love about this is the bite in the opening from that ginger and cardamom. Have you tried Versace Crystal Noir? If so, please do let me know your thoughts about it. Are you a fan of this one, or can you give it a miss? Also, if you have tried it and you do like it, do you prefer the EDT or the EDP version? So this was Versace Crystal Noir. When I think about sexy fragrances, this next one is one of the first to come to mind. This is from a brand called LK, and this is Lettre de Pushkar. Such a phenomenal, phenomenal fragrance. Very, very sexy in my opinion. This is my scent of the day. I don't wear this as much as I should, but I have loved it for the longest time. This in essence is a rose fragrance with a twist. There's some saffron in here, there's some amber, there's a little bit of nutmeg. but it's sweet and sensual, yet at the same time it has character. There's amber in the base. I think there's cinnamon in here. There's a little bit of vanilla. It's in the same type of category as La Capitale for me. They don't smell the same, but it gives off the same type of vibe. I would wear this type of fragrance for a date night or when I really wanted to turn heads. But more than that, it just makes me feel amazing every time I wear it. I'm wearing it today. I've only done 3 sprays. I find this one pretty strong, at least on my skin. Oh, it's so sexy. Now, you will probably know if you watch my channel, Peregrina is one of my favorite fragrances in my collection and one of my most worn. And this one smells a little bit similar to Peregrina, but without that kind of caramel vibe to it. Imagine Peregrina, but take away the caramel. This is what I get from Lettre de Pushkar. And also add in some more spice. It's not a super spicy fragrance, but that spice adds to the kind of sweetness that's in the overall composition. I love the nutmeg and I love the saffron. Saffron is such a sexy note when done right. Yeah, if you like the sound of rose, amber, vanilla, saffron, and nutmeg, definitely get your nose on Lettre de Pushkar. LK is such an underrated brand. The quality is exceptional. I would highly recommend getting a sample of this one if you like the sound of the notes. So when I think about sexy fragrances, one of the notes that comes to mind is cherry. This is Duchessa by Gritti. Now, cherry isn't my favorite note in the world, but I like it when it's done right, and I like it when it's more of a sexy cherry that's not medicinal, that has a dark touch to it. And Duchessa is definitely a dark cherry fragrance, to me at least. It's a sexy, dark, musky cherry that packs a real punch. It also has saffron, and I said saffron when it's done right is the sexiest note. So imagine saffron and cherry. There's some cloves in here for some spice. You've got some bitter almond that's almost a little bit creamy too. And then you've got lots of brown sugar, which gives it the most decadent sweetness. There's a little bit of iris. It's not super powdery, but you definitely get that slight hint of iris. And then it also has a chocolate note. Now, I don't necessarily pick up the chocolate, but it adds to that kind of decadent touch. You know those dark cherries encased in chocolate, normally dark chocolate, that have the liquor in them too. It kind of gives off a similar vibe to that. Oh, this is a sexy, sexy fragrance. One of my favorite cherries for sure. And this is definitely one that is extremely hypnotizing, that will definitely turn heads when you wear it, and you will just feel amazing and empowered when you wear this one. So this was Duchessa by Gritti. So those were all of the fragrances that I wanted to go through in today's video. Please do let me know if any of these stood out and what you think about them. But what I want to know is, what fragrances have you sampled, or what fragrances do you have in your collection that you would class as hypnotizing fragrances that turn heads and leave an intoxicating scent trail? Please do let me know down below. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure as always. I hope to see you in a future video to come. Thank you so much, and goodbye.